Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going over the Magellan 9 release. Just before we get started, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. All attendees are on mute. Please submit any questions you have for us on the Q&A widget in the bottom of the bottom tab, everything. You will be able to easily access that as well as see the deck, the presentation. We'll get back to you with any questions that we have and any answers we do not get to on the webinar. With this, and without further ado, I will pass it to the speakers and let them take over.
Great, I'll take it first. Hi, everyone. This is Mike Judd from the product marketing team. Very excited today to talk to you about the Magellan 9 release. In fact, we have practically the whole product marketing team and solutions consultant here to tell you about Magellan 9. So with that said, we'll talk. These will be our speakers today. So I'm the voice of Mike Judd, mainly the product marketing for apps. You're going to hear Andy next. Andy will be talking about pay. Then we'll have Jonathan, which will be a new voice for you. He'll be talking about buy. And last but not least, Doug Anderson will be going through the Go, the new features and functions for Go. And then James you'll hear his voice come through quite a few times as we show you some of these features and functions. So in terms of an agenda today, what I'd like to do is start with an introduction, just high level, just some themes that we carried forward from previous releases and will carry through to future releases. So make sure you're aware of those themes. And then we'll go through the what's new in the order of pay, apps, buy, then go. And like I said, we'll do a brief introduction, tell you what's coming in each of those areas. And then James is on the hook to then show you through some of the demos that he's prepared. With that, let me just go through an introduction for you. Again, just a few slides, real high level on some of the themes that we've been developing. So I think most of you agree with this statement right here that, we want to be as powerful at work as we are. So I think we've all taken an Uber ride or used some of these logos in some way, shape, or form. But, we can, let's take the Uber example. We could track a car and get it to our doorstep pretty quickly and know when it's coming. So you can kind of see it along its route and know it's going to show up 4 or 5 minutes, from now. Also, you'll know when food can be delivered. You have that ability to track. So you have a really good digital experience at home. But when you get to work, it's very different, right? We're trying to find where an invoice is in a workflow, and that sometimes gets problematic. Sellers are asking you, when is my invoice going to get paid? Or you want to know when your order's coming. You've ordered something and you hope it's coming today. So you kind of saw in the home world where I can find my car when it's coming, but in the work world, and I'm having trouble locating those invoices and where it is in status. So we want to bring that experience that you have at home into the workplace. And I had a great example this morning, really relevant to what we're talking about. We found out my son had a baseball practice before his game today. So lo and behold, we had to make some quick adjustments to try and get my son there, having 2 parents that work. In fact, it's happening right now during this call. So we got the phones out, we're adjusting, and in real time we're connecting with neighbors and teachers to try and figure this thing out. And in a matter of minutes, we had a plan. We're going to get my son to his game. We got his equipment, and he's all set to go. In fact, we even had a few alternative plans. But that's kind of the speed that we're talking about. And it really speaks more to being adaptive and collaborative, that I'm very collaborative with the neighbors and the teachers who are connected to me, but also being able to be adaptive, make some changes on the fly, given that we found out about this practice this morning, and then had to get the equipment and stuff, to my son and get him to the practice and game. So certainly that's the kind of thing we want to have at work too, being adaptive and collaborative. And that's what Magellan in large part is about. How do we get you on that journey to be more adaptive and collaborative with your AP and procurement processes? So with Tradeshift Pay, what Andy's going to talk about when he takes over in just a few minutes there is talk about how to get to digital AP and then the next step, getting to reducing those exception processes. Because once you're digital, things go quicker. And then you can start looking at how do you get more straight-through processing? How do you get to where the humans aren't touching things? And when they do, how can we get that done as quickly as possible? So what we want to talk about there today in terms of Magellan 9 is how we're showing you the onboarding success that you're having with suppliers. So the more suppliers you get connected, the more digital that you'll have in your processes. Just like me being connected to neighbors this morning, I was able to be adaptive and collaborative with a certain set of neighbors because they're connected to us. So you want to have that with your suppliers as well. And then we want to get to that digital experience. All that real-time connection, the convenience, all the things that we just talked about in the home world, we want to bring that experience to work. And also where we can take advantage of ADA, where ADA is our artificial intelligence that's going to help you with some of these manual processes, either do it for you or make it quicker so you can get the decisions pretty quickly. So Anna's going to show you how we can make things more automated when humans have to touch the process. And then, of course, we need to integrate the buy process with the pay process as well. So we're going to go through how we've done that. Certainly, a lot of times with the exceptions, a lot of that comes from upstream. If an order is not accurate and you have an invoice come in, doesn't match an order, a lot of times that leads to the exception. So we certainly want to make sure the upstream processes are in good shape and digital so that when we get to the downstream process, it does go much quicker. And Jonathan's going to talk about buy. And we know that you want your employees to buy right, but we're going to add to that a collaborative and centralized marketplace. So that way you can be collaborative with your supply chain and also have it centralized so all your buying can access one central place, right? So what we've done there for Magellan 9 is provided tools not only to the seller, but also to the buyer to manage and enrich that content. So you don't have to do everything on your own. Catalog content management used to be a pretty rough process where the seller would say, here's the data, now you go enrich it. But now this could be a process shared in large part by the supplier contributing the data and then enriching it, but then the buyer making it contextual for their users. And that's going to lead to the next bullet, certainly the order accuracy and better straight-through processing. The more content that we can introduce, the more we can help the users with their buying and get those orders accurate. The more straight-through processing we could see in our downstream processes. And lastly, they're connecting, again, more of your sellers. To the point before, you want more of your sellers on digital processes. So what Jonathan's going to talk to you about there is a process where if your sellers are offline or off the network, you can still send them an order because we want to get that order to them, of course. But there's ways that we can then get them onboarded to the Tradeshift network from that point forward. And then Doug's going to come in with Tradeshift Go, our solution for the long-tail spend. There's an element of control that needs to happen there. There's a lot of users, a lot of suppliers that take place in the long tail. I think most people admit they don't have the control today, nor the visibility. So what Doug's going to do is talk to you about what we've done with Go to really help those users and budget owners control their own budgets. So they know they're on the hook to stay within budget. They know that they want to try and do that, of course. So we're going to give them the tools to be able to limit people to some degree, but also give them the freedom to get the things that they need to do their job. So you can see, again, the real theme of being more adaptive and being more collaborative in the work processes. So for my last slide in terms of the introduction, again, just to impress that, we know we're very empowered at home and at work. We want you to have that same digital experience, make things convenient, have things in context, and have your people connected for the processes they need to do. And no better way to start than with Andy talking about pay, who's going to talk about an invoice app that has that digital experience that we're talking about. So with no further ado, I'm going to send that over to Andy to talk about Tradeshift Pay. Thanks, Andy.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. So Andy Moyer, Product Marketing for Pay. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's new. And we have two key things that are new for this release. One is the new Invoice app, which I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide, but the highlight is really sort of as Mike was talking about, that sense of wanting to be able to have everything work the way it works when you do home things at home, and be able to spend less time on the coding for the invoicing, but really being able to collaborate and approve wherever you are. So that idea of moving between devices just like we do at work and at home. The second piece is really around view order changes. And this is really the ability to view order changes sent to and from the ERP system. So this is really getting buyers and sellers a shared view of order changes that can more easily be collaborated on. So again, tying back into that whole idea of collaborating. And part of that is then the seller is also being notified when there's a change to the order doc. So it's really taking pay and buy and starting to be much more complementary to each other. Next slide. So the new invoicing app has a couple of key things. As I mentioned, it's all about the simpler interface, and it's really trying to make things more transparent and collaborative and then extend that to a mobile world. As part of that, it's actually also taking Ada-assisted coding. So Ada being our AI tool, really being able to take a look at sort of places where you need to do coding and based on previous information that's gone through the system, supplying recommendations for what could go in there. So just really trying to speed up the process of not having to look at every invoice and code it manually. Then the other piece that this really focuses on is around the collaborations. So collaborators really getting a shared view of the status, ownership, and next steps related to the invoice moving through the process. And then as we've kind of been talking about with that idea of working on any device is being able to move between your computer or your phone and being able to work on invoices in various states of the process. So really having that ability to kind of work wherever you need to work and not be tied to a computer all the time. So those are the two highlights for pay, and with that I'll turn it over to the pay demo.
Thank you very much. Mike, I think you can pop over to the next video here. The first thing we're going to take a look at in the pay demonstration is actually that new invoice format. So if we take a look at the screen, this is what the new invoice format looks like. We tell the user what they need to do. We've got visibility into the workflow, where it's going to go, who's going to approve it. We've got that AI layer that we mentioned earlier over the top that's presenting the coding. We can see that right in the top that Ada has coded this. If we go down, we can see who it's from, which business unit the invoice is to. We can see the coding that's automatically been done via deep learning. So the artificial intelligence engine looks at past approved invoices, automatically presents the coding. Users can review it and change it if necessary. And then as we move on down towards the bottom, you can actually see that we have the collaboration built in. So both internal and external, so we can talk to the supplier or talk inside with recommendations. So that's a quick look at what the new invoice format looks like. And if we want to go in to the next one then, Mike, we've also got the ability for users to see change orders out there now. So prior to this, you could create an order inside your ERP or in Tradeshift Buy, but we really didn't have a good way of monitoring the changes that have been made to the orders out there. So we've got a standard order out here in the system, and if we go back, we can take a look at it in the documents list. We have the ability to actually, and if we're going to open another one here, see the change in the sequencing behind it. So if there's ever an error, let's say people make mistakes in the order or an order needs to be updated, right? As a buyer, I make a mistake, I need to make an update. I can go into the respective system, whether that's Tradeshift Buy, that we'll take a look at a little bit later, or Tradeshift or your ERP, and go in and we'll actually take a look at that order now. So we can make the change. If we look, we can see right across the top that this purchase order has been replaced. When we go in, so we've got the marker there, very important, that says that there has been a change. If you notice up in this order as well, there's a sequence number. So a lot of times we might have a running open purchase order in an ERP system that gets updated as quantities adjust in the inventory. We've got the ability to track that and see that information there. So we've got the sequence number. This is the first change, but we have that full audit and trackable history, whereas in the past, before when an order was updated, it would just void out the old one. now we can see that order and go from there. If we go in on the supplier side as well, because everybody's connected digitally, we've got that unified view. So when I take a look at the order from a supplier standpoint, that I just opened up the supplier screen, again, I can see all of that information, the versioning, and I can make an invoice right off of this. So I can do that standard PO flip to be able to do that. So Mike, I think we can go into the next slide, start talking about apps.
Yeah, that's me. Thanks, James. So yeah, I want to talk about apps. Apps for us in general is about that digital experience that I introduced at the beginning. It's all about how do you get that convenience that Andy was talking about, particularly with a mobile device, but also having everything in one place. So if you're working with an invoice, as James showed, how do I get to see all the activity, all the workflow that's going on with that invoice, and then how do I get to do the coding? So it's very convenient to have that all in one place. The next thing, it puts it all in context too. So if I'm working with an invoice, these are the things that I want to know about an invoice, right? And all the execution steps that are relevant to an invoice are there as well. So it puts a lot of things in context for me. And last but not least, it certainly has me connected. That same connectivity that I'm expecting from, tracking my Uber ride to my doorstep, that's really what I'm expecting in my work life too, again. That it's going to be something that James showed, like, if something's approved in real time, then that status should change, or the approval view is going to change for me. And that's the kind of thing that I'm expecting now from apps. So in general, that's how we speak of apps. How do you really get to that adaptive and collaborative type process that we're all used to? And with Magellan 9, I want to kind of introduce two things that we did in the apps area. One under collaboration is the Enhanced Collaboration Email Digest. So this is very near and dear to me because I'm not a big fan of the real-time notifications. I usually work out of my inbox, so that's really my solution of choice, how I work in my daily life. So I prefer something like this where, just give me, at certain intervals, just give me some indication of what I need to work on. I don't need to work on everything real time. Sometimes I can just, I want to just find a time and just get through all the collaboration that I need to get to. So something like this is good for me, and we could set this up at certain frequencies. You can get this digest weekly, you can get it daily, you can get it even some finer frequency than that. It all depends on how active you have to be. For a marketing person, maybe not so active into the system, so I could probably wait maybe a week or so to get to my activity, what I need to do. But when I do get the email, it's a very different template than what you've seen before, a different look and feel. Hopefully you see this much better. You see the document that we're collaborating on, then you see what the collaboration is all about, and then a quick link to get to that collaboration. So I can open up and then contribute what I need to do, contribute to that collaboration. So again, it's just something where it allows me to work in the system that I want to work in and at the pace that I need to work in, given that I'm a marketing guy. The second thing is the Enhanced Supplier Onboarding Report. Again, we really want to track our digital relationships with our suppliers. We want to get as much digital as we can, right? So this is going to allow us to track that. But some new information that was added to the report is going to be very helpful for you. Things like contact information and the account URL, which we understand from all of you is something that you're asked quite a bit. What is my URL? So, we want to make sure that we have that information at the ready for you. So you can make sure that you have suppliers onboarded. So with that, now that you have suppliers onboarded, I think this is a great chance to talk about buy and what you can do with all those sellers. So Jonathan, I think that's you now for buy.
Well, thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. Really pleased to be able to share a little bit about Tradeshift Buy. I am as Mike said earlier, I am the newest product marketer in the mix here. My background is marketplaces, so Buy is, as Mike was saying, apps is near and dear to his heart, and this is near and dear to my heart. I'd like to talk to you just briefly about what's new. For this release, we are announcing a series of enhancements to Tradeshift Buy. Some of them you may have seen a little earlier. Some of them are building upon previous enhancements. But all of these are going to streamline your product workflows and allow you to more effectively and efficiently define your products in the Tradeshift platform. Regional target markets, this first bullet point here, allows you to define which products you want available in specific geographic markets. Now, by defining the state or country your product or service is available, you can avoid receiving orders where your products or services cannot be sold or delivered, as well as enable differentiated pricing and taxes based on region. It's pretty cool, really. One of the next enhancements is harmonized system commodity coding. Some of you are going to know this as HS coding. Now we're going to give you the ability and the power to assign those unique numeric identifiers, that's that system code that's been adopted by more than 200 countries, as a basis for custom tariffs and collection of trade statistics. And really we see this as a way that you can enhance and streamline cross-border trade capabilities. It really is. The next one we want to talk about is verify view and collections changes, which is kind of wordy, but in a nutshell, what that does is it allows your internal administration, your internal admin, to create groups or categories of products by applying filters to the larger group of products you guys have available. This allows you, as an organization, to segment the products you want by purchaser, purchaser type, by department, or however your organization wants to group them. And what this really means in the end is that your buyers are able to transact in a highly curated marketplace. Well, and last but not least, I'm really pleased to announce that our technology team has been hard at work. I mean, they're always hard at work, but they've been really working on enhancing our data warehouse processing speeds. And we're pleased to share that we've improved our product upload speeds by 4x. That's 400% improvement to upload speeds. And additional enhancements also mean that you'll be notified of processing time and upload completion, so you can navigate away from your processing page and onto other projects while your content is uploading and processing. So we talk about that, but I want to talk a little bit about, you saw a little bit here in one of the earlier demos, some of our optimized workflows and enhanced order processing. We've made additional enhancements there. With the addition of delivery date pre-population, there's a new transparency between buyers and sellers on the platform. And what that's going to do is that's going to help mitigate change orders and reduce all that back and forth that occurs when products or services are not available. Now further, this new feature actually allows purchasers to set delivery dates. So, deliveries can align with the needs of the buyer's teams or your warehousing and your dock requirements. So, that's a pretty great little feature to have there. Now, the enhanced collaborative order change processing, which you saw a little bit about earlier, will really help you avoid those unnecessary delays. And that's going to move your change order process to on-demand. This sort of digital transformation of traditional purchase documents allows a lot of collaboration and flexibility, that collaboration and flexibility Mike was talking about earlier. Requesters are now empowered to change already sent orders in real time. And this permission can be restricted to defined users on your team. And this allows changes in quantity, delete line item, change delivery addresses, and much more. And then sellers are notified about the changes through the change order document. Well, I guess the most important thing to really think about here, gang, is that both parties, this benefits both, as a seller or a buyer. And what that does is that gives you full change history, full access to that, so you guys have traceability and audit capabilities. It provides you guys with a flexible and ultimately collaborative environment, just like Google Docs has done for collaboration with document editing and processing. Well, and to round things out, let's talk a little bit about enhancements to our email order processing. what we've done is we've made some changes there that we feel really kind of changed the game a little bit with this release. We've updated and streamlined this process now so that if you want to place an order with a non-Tradeshift Network seller, you absolutely can do that through our platform and still track it through the platform. Not only does it send over that order, that PO, but our system also offers a streamlined invitation to that seller to our digital selling network. So your relationship can be more collaborative and your order processing can be more efficient, traceable, and change-free. And there's really nothing wrong with that. And now I could go on, but instead, why don't I pass this presentation back off, and you guys can take a few minutes here and really get into a couple of demos on what I've been talking about. Guys, you want to take over here with the demos?
Sounds great, Mike. You want to just click it up one more, and we'll take a look at the first one here. So we had talked about the ability to make order changes. And where we're at now is we're actually in Tradeshift. Tradeshift's implemented it. So prior to this, you could only make changes in the ERP. Now you can come in and via Tradeshift Buy make the order change. So a few of you might have noticed this blue button at the top there, which allows me to create an order change. So as I go in to this demo, we'll click on this and I can actually go in and update the order. So we've got all the order information here. I'm not sure, is this the video playing there? There we go.
I think we just have a little bit of technological lag.
Yeah, with this. But what happens is when you click on that button, it's going to bring up the order change form now. So similar to making a change in the ERP, now you can make a change in Tradeshift to that order. So if we take a look, I can see the line item. I can make changes. I can delete the line item. If I need to make an update maybe to the quantity inside there, it'll go through and make all of those changes. So it makes all the automatic changes, does all the math in there for me. So I can easily make an update to this order and send it out. And under options, I've got the ability, if I needed to go into Marketplace and shop, I can go in and actually search through my catalogs and shop. If I need to change the delivery date because I made a mistake, I can change that or the delivery address information as well. So I've got the options to go in and make the necessary changes if I have to make any changes to any piece of information in that order. So the key being, we've got a fully traceable, fully auditable order out here where we can make changes to that. If you want to ping over to the next one here, Mike.
We have.
Perfect.
There we go.
We're in there. We automatically did it. So we also enabled the ability to go in and via email send out an order to someone. So like we just mentioned there, let's say I have an initial contact with a supplier and we make an agreement. I say, great, I'd like to send you an order for the one we just talked about. Even before the connection's established, we're able to go into Tradeshift Buy and via the written request, we can go in and actually send an order to an email-connected supplier. So rather than having to have a full connection and have them set up and signed up, we're enabling this order process and the ability for buyers to get started and get moving forward. You saw in the screenshots earlier, it's going to send out an invitation to join the network as well as send out all that information in the order. So what we're able to do then is in Buy, go in, make our order, submit it, and then we can see here if we go into the document section that order has been created, right? So an approved request turns into an order, and even though that they were just an email contact that we had, we were able to send them an order. So it really allows us to speed up that process while maintaining the full audit trail on there. So those were the two, Mike, if you want to just flip on to the next one.
Fantastic. All right,
Great.
Doug, I think you're up, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much. So this is Doug Anderson. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Tradeshift Go, and I'm excited to talk to you about the changes in the direction of the product today, because it really adds up to something more than just a series of feature updates. What I think you'll find with these, with the new direction of Go is that it really allows for a delegated spending authority. So most traditional procurement or purchasing cycles are very centralized, and what Tradeshift Go does with these changes is actually push the opportunity or the ability to make those purchases down to the business line managers and those who actually manage budgets and have people that are interested in making purchases. So first of all, I want to talk to you about manager roles, and this is something that will be new with this next version of Go. And basically what it does is currently with Go there are essentially two layers. There's a requester who makes a purchase request, and then there's an approver who approves that request. But what we're trying to do is actually move the approvals and payments closer to the team decision makers so that they can authorize and issue cards, those virtual card tokens, as they're needed. And what this does is it actually mirrors the enterprise approval structure a little bit more closely. So rather than having like two slices of bread that make up the sandwich, now you can actually have multiple layers within that sandwich. So at the very top layer, you have a company administrator who has total visibility across the organization and also total control. Below that individual, there is a next tier that is essentially a group manager that can then authorize other managers or team leaders below that individual, who then invites these members or requesters to join their team. So what you have is a very structured way of having purchase approvals and just the ability to make those purchases. The great thing about it is that it reduces the time between approval and purchase, and also because you're essentially consolidating processes, right, for purchase requisitioning, for payments of invoices, for maintenance of master supplier data. You're essentially merging all of those into one process so that you have essentially one credit card statement at the end of the month. So it does help also create some back office efficiency. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is this dashboard. So essentially, when you will log in as a manager or a company administrator in this new version of Go, you'll go straight to this screen that you see before you, where you'll be able to get some sort of quick hit details on what's going on with the credit extension across the organization, with the transactions that are happening. So you'll notice on this top left quadrant, you'll see the amount of credit that's currently available, the credit that's been used across the organization, and how many instances of virtual cards are in the organization. If you look on your top right, this bar chart will show you month-to-month spending over time, and you can change that, of course, from monthly or weekly or even daily views. You'll get a sense for the number of transactions that are going on and how much credit has been used. Below to your bottom right, you actually see kind of a real-time activity stream of requests. So whether those requests have been approved, whether they're currently pending, or even if they've been denied, you can kind of filter by those. And then lastly, the bottom left is that team dashboard where you can see how many virtual cards are currently issued to that team, how much credit has been used, and how much is actually available. The other great thing about the dashboard is it's kind of a springboard into any of the manager or administrator functions that you'd like to do. So you can actually approve or deny requests from this screen. You can pause spending or deactivate virtual cards, just jumping from this screen. So next, I want to talk to you about Wallet. So, kind of similar to a physical wallet. I don't know about you, but From time to time, I actually need to go into my wallet and I find things in there that I've just forgotten that I have. This Tradeshift Go wallet is a virtual wallet, and kind of like that, as a manager or a company administrator, you're actually empowered to go in and deactivate cards that you no longer need, essentially zeroing out the balance. So if you've already used it, no longer needed, you don't need to have that virtual card sitting in your wallet. You can actually also pause virtual card creation. Maybe if you have a rogue spender on the team and you want to just sort of check into what's going on, you can pause virtual card creation in the interim. And you can also filter and search for each instance of virtual card, whether active or inactive, and actually search for transactions as well from the screen. So it's a very powerful tool to sort of aggregate what's going on in your Tradeshift Go world. So next is this team account codes feature. And what this does is essentially enhance the experience for the member or the requester. So as they go to make that request, which really takes minutes, it's even easier today because as an administrator or a manager, you can limit the available GL or accounting codes that they have to view. So if you have kind of a lengthy list, or you feel like maybe team members might get confused as to the plethora of accounting codes that are available, this is a good way to pare that down, to only have those codes that they're more familiar with. And in the meantime, that also helps reduce any sort of back office work that occurs when there's errors and tying those codes together. All right, well, that's it from me. So, Natasha, I'm going to turn the time back over to you to run the Q&A.
Actually, Doug, I'll just take it first to close, and then Natasha, I'll give it to you. Sorry.
Awesome.
Those just a couple comments. One is that, well, first of all, Doug gave you a preview of Go, so he's going to give you more information coming up soon, right, Doug, on the Go 2.0 launch. You'll see demos and get more information on it then. So Doug was kind enough to do a preview today for you. For the rest of it, for pay and buy, it goes generally available on May 1st. I just want to make sure you knew that date. Now, also, while you're coming up with questions, I just want to pose two calls to action. Certainly we talked about adaptive and collaborative today, but we've kind of showed you a focused view of that, just what we did on Magellan 9. There's certainly a lot that we've done in past development up through Magellan 1 through 8, and then we'll continue with future development on that as well. But I certainly invite you to talk to your customer success contact and get more information on the collaborative processes that we've developed. So although we've had that, like I said, a small look at it today from the lens of Magellan 9, I do hope that you follow up and see more of those processes in action and more of that collaboration and that real-time digital experience that we're talking about. And then speaking of the digital experience, I also invite you to take a look at that Invoice app, particularly for your Invoice users that look at invoices all day. This is where they are going to get that digital experience. The real-time status changes, knowing what's going on with workflows and when things are going to get paid, and that activity that they need, they'll get through that Invoice app. So hopefully that's something that you also look at coming from Magellan 9. So that gave you a few chances to add some questions. So Natasha, I will hand it to you now to see if we have any questions that we need to answer.
Thank you. We do actually have a few questions, and I'll let you field them along the caller lines. The first one is going out to what is the type of business purchases you can make with Go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple of different types of purchases that are really suitable for Go. And first of all, these can be adjusted by the company administrator. So you can use Go for just a single-use purchase. It can also be customized to be a multi-use purpose virtual card. So if there's a couple of different, maybe for a project or something like that, where a couple of different purchases need to be made, it can accommodate that. And then the last is for what do you call it, like a recurring type spend, where maybe you have some sort of a software license or something like that that is recurring on a monthly or a yearly basis. You can actually make Go suitable for a subscription. So those are the three types of purchases that it's actually really well suited for.
Perfect. I'm actually going to, while I have you raise answers, ask a question and move on to the other ones. How does our bank reward program work with Go?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you. Can you say that one more time?
No worries. How does our company's current bank reward program work with the Go program?
Yeah. So what's great about Go is that it's actually an extension of your corporate or procurement card program. So it really works well with any existing bank rewards program that you might be enrolled in. So it doesn't necessarily change that dynamic, but because you can actually use Go as an option for payments for employees across the organization, and it actually helps achieve those rewards goals even faster. So I think it actually works really well with those type of programs. Any other questions there, Natasha?
I'm sorry, I was still on mute. My apologies. Will all my users now see the Invoice app when it goes on to GA?
I'll take that one. On May 1st, when we go GA, you're going to see your current user experience. So this is something that you'll have to turn on. So that's kind of my call to action was we hope you look into it. We hope you work with your customer success manager to get a look at it and then implement that. That is our user interface for the future. I think Jonathan really alluded to a lot of the power of it when he talks about the Google Docs. I forgot about that analogy, but really that collaborative, in real time kind of look at a document is what people expect now. So I hope you do look into it, but it's not automatic that everybody sees it on May 1st. That's going to be something you turn on.
Perfect. Okay. Then I will, with that actually, I think close everything out. That is all our questions for today. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining us. And we'll get back to you later. We're getting close to the end of the time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.